Alright, everybody, welcome back to Major Gaming, and today we're gonna be going over the fact that Made for This is still a fucking problem. It is, in Dead by Daylight, it is, and it's been exacerbated by the fact that Kaneki dropped to a degree that is very fucking annoying. Just saying. So, I'm gonna go over this. Now, just because I say Made for This is a problem does not necessarily mean that I want Made for This changed. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't it was, but it wasn't a big problem for months, okay? I don't want Made for This to be made weaker in general, okay? Because it is a niche perk. You don't really see it anymore, and the activation process for it is not anything overpowered or anything. Like, it's a very niche perk. It's pretty much an anti-tunnel perk at this point. Except for a few situations against certain killers where it's more than an anti-tunnel perk. And this is a problem, okay? It is a problem. So many people online right now are in a fucking hissy because people are saying Made for This is a problem. And they're like, oh, well, it's not even strong. You didn't complain for months. We didn't complain for months because no one was fucking using the perk. Okay, that's like how Twins has only a 1% pick rate, but then when they were getting reworked, everyone was all of a sudden like, oh shit, Twins are actually really fucking strong. Yeah, it's because they were put to the forefront. Same thing happening with Made for This right now. It's not any crazy fucking concept where you gotta question, oh, why is everyone questioning it now? Because it's fucking a problem now. Because people are using it. It's noticeable. Like, you don't fucking say a bug isn't a problem because it's been in a game for 3 years and all of a sudden is now a big, like, no, it's still a problem. Like, just because it hasn't been used doesn't mean it's not a problem. Now, and it doesn't mean it hasn't been a problem. It has been, technically. It's just you didn't see it. So you weren't gonna go against it much, and the certain killers that are affected by it, they just didn't see it, so they weren't affected by it, you know? But now they are. And let's talk about this. So the killers that are specifically affected by MFT unfairly. Kaneki for 1, Legion 2, Deathslinger 3, Skull Merchant, I believe, still does the deep wound thing. I believe. But I could be wrong. They changed her so much. I completely fucking forgot. But I'm pretty sure Skull Merchant still, as of right now, puts you in deep wound. Skull Merchant. Knight puts you in deep wound with his Assassin Guard. And Wesker, though very rarely, is affected by deep wound in his base kit. 6 killers are affected by Made for This in ways that... I said Deathslinger, right? I'm pretty sure I did. Anyway, our 6 killers are fucking affected by Made for This in a way that no other killers in the fucking game are, because they literally can't avoid the perk activating on them. It's in their base kit, meaning that they can't get away from it unless they just don't use their power, which is not fair and not okay. Now, I've gone on record, I made a video on this a while ago saying that killers should not have deep wound as part of their powers. They shouldn't. They really shouldn't. And that was back before deep wound got nerfed. And I was saying, like, it's annoying for survivors to deal with. It fucks up the ability to actually change the killers in a meaningful way. And it's just not healthy. You know, the deep wound should be an effect that is rarely seen. Especially now, considering the fact that they nerfed it. They made it so that deep wound now doesn't have the screen darkening effect, which was a big effect for deep wound. And then also now only takes like 8 seconds to mend instead of, what was it, 12 or 10 or something like that. Like, they nerfed Deep Wound. So I'm like, alright, so now you've nerfed it, which means any killer with Deep Wound in their base kit just got a pretty significant fucking nerf. And now Made for This is running rampant, so every survivor or every killer that puts survivors into Deep Wound as part of their power is being affected by Made for This, and a lot of them are not strong enough to deal with it. Kaneki, at the very least, is very strong regardless of the Deep Wound effect. So he can kind of work around it, not really. The best way for Kaneki to work around it is just not do the hit scan move on survivors. If Kaneki doesn't do that, all he loses is his ability to get enraged, but he can still win without that. So that's a way Kaneki can work around it. But Legion, fucking Deathslinger, Knight kinda can, because he could just not send out his assassin, but like, why would you not send out one of your like, again, like, it's just like you have to completely, not use your power fully. Skull Merchant, she has no control. If Deep Wound still works how it worked before, she literally can't stop the Deep Wound from happening, because it's up to the survivors. They fucking just run under the scanner, and they can give themselves Deep Wound if they wanted to and activate Made for This, and Skull Merchant can't do anything about it. So, and then Wesker's is kind of more rare. I think he gets Deep Wound when he throws a survivor into another survivor, which is a kind of a rare scenario. You won't really see it much, but still, I don't think it's necessary. Like, I feel like all of these killers could have Deep Wound removed and replaced with something else, and it would be far better for the game in general. It would be way healthier, because if they remove Deep Wound from every killer, okay, Kaneki gets a nerf. Legion can then be made better without the annoying fucking men simulator happening every 10 seconds. They could actually meaningfully buff Legion to a point where they are not going to be super annoying to go against. And then Deathslinger, I mean, it's not, maybe they could just, I'm going to go over some ideas, but like Deathslinger, like, it would nerf him a little bit, but then they could just give him something better, Maybe if they don't give Deep Wound, maybe they can make his spear go farther or something like that. I'm going to give my own ideas, but you get the idea. Like, maybe, like, they could give other buffs that would make the killers feel better, like Knight and his assassin. You telling me they can't give any other effect for the assassin that could, potentially be even better for the Knight? Like, I don't know. Like, it's crazy. Like, and then Wesker, again, rare scenario. Like, they could just, like, not have it happen. Like, I think, like, honestly, I feel like if you're in a scenario where you can grab a survivor and then hit a survivor with a survivor, I forget which survivor gets a Deep Wound. If it's the one that gets thrown, well, that survivor's going down, like you could just not have the Deep Wound happen, and it wouldn't do anything, because your benefit from that is hitting the other survivor. So you got 2 injuries in one, or whatever. You could just have the thrown survivor not get Deep Wound. If it's the survivor that gets hit with the Deep Wound, then you could just have them be hindered or something instead of Deep Wound. Like a 10% hinder instead of Deep Wound, and that would be way better. That would make Wesker stronger, actually, because Deep Wound doesn't do anything while you're being chased, because you just keep running, and then you never have to worry about, you just hold down the button, you never have to worry about it, like, you don't have to be moving for Deep Wound to actually be effective, to be ineffective. So, like, alright, let's start with Wesker. I suggest for Wesker, instead of Deep Wound, make the survivor's hindered. Basic hinder effect. They get slowed down for like a couple seconds, maybe like 5 seconds. They get 10% hinder. Bam, that's it. I would love that more than a deep wound effect in that situation. Since that one's the easy one, now let's talk about... Actually, if he... I think the reason why it's not hinder is because he actually already does hinder because of the infection. I don't think the survivor that gets hit, though, gets infected. So, yeah, if it's the survivor that gets hit by the other survivor, then yeah, just hinder. Yeah. Anyway. So, Knight with his assassin. I'd say kind of the same deal. Maybe instead of getting a deep wound from the assassin, you get hindered. That way the knight can like fucking get up and hit you easier, after you've been hit by the assassin. Or if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to incentivize the sandwich gameplay that Knight has, you could possibly do something like after the assassin hits you and injures you, maybe you're exhausted for 10 seconds. That one actually might be pretty good. And it would essentially do the same thing because... So, with deep wounds, people are like, oh, well, deep wound is good on killers because it stops exhaustion perks like Dead Hard and stuff like that. You can't use those anymore. But it activates MFT, which is the far worse perk. I'd rather deal with Dead Hard than MFT. Any day of the week, I'll deal with Dead Hard over MFT. Because MFT is way better than, like, Dead Hard in certain areas. Like, I can bait out a Dead Hard. I can't bait out MFT, and it doesn't go away. So I'd much rather deal with fucking Dead Hard in 99% of situations. Like, that's just easy. And, like, so if they replace deep wounds with exhaustion, I could see that being a lot better for Knight, specifically. After the assassin hits a survivor, instead of deep wound, they get exhausted for 20-30 seconds. That, or whatever number you want to put there. That would be cool. Then for Deathslinger, if you're exhausted after you get injured, then you can't use perks like Life and what was it? Life. You can't use fucking oh, it would actually counter Overcome too. It would counter Overcome. So like that would make that perk kind of weaker, and which sucks because I run Overcome on all my survivors. But I'll take that because I feel like maybe with Deathslinger, if you get the hit off instead of a deep wound, you get haste. You, instead of giving the survivor deep wound, you get like 5% haste for a couple seconds, something like that, or like anything like, or they could completely change the kit entirely. Like I said earlier, maybe instead of Deathslinger having that slowdown with deep wound, maybe they make maybe they give him a faster reload speed. That would actually be pretty fucking nice because a faster reload speed feels nice to use. Deep wound doesn't feel nice to give to the survivors. Especially now since it's been nerfed, if they got rid of Deathslinger's deep wound and instead just gave him a way faster reload time where he's just and then can shoot again, I would prefer that so much more. And I feel like, because then that also adds interaction with the survivor, because the survivor knows, alright, he's reloading faster, I gotta dodge these shots more. And it's still counterable. You can still dodge a Deathslinger shot. Yeah, it's hard, but at least as survivor, he's reloading faster. Now I gotta get ready to dodge shots more. Which is kind of fun as survivor. When I play against Deathslinger, I like dodging the shots. I find it fun. I find Deathslinger fun especially on certain maps, like where it's like the maps where like you can still see over a bunch of loops, so you can like crouch and dodge the shots. That's fun to me. I love that. I love going against this slinger on certain maps. So like that is something that could be done. Get rid of his deep wound, give him faster reload to make up for it. Fucking Skull Merchant. Instead of putting in survivors into the deep wound, honestly, instead of doing that, Skull Merchant's kind of a fucking mess right now anyway. And I know the deep wound isn't gonna last on her much anyway, but like, they could take away deep wound and fucking give her fucking, I don't know, maybe instead of deep wound, give her like a fucking, give her 2 scan lines back. That'd be fucking wonderful. Skull Merchant's kind of a mess. I don't even know what the fuck to fucking do with that killer anymore. But yeah, you get the idea. Give her 2 scan lines back and fucking get rid of the deep wound. There you go. That would be wonderful. That would be great. Now with that, then it's Legion and Kaneki. Honestly, with Kaneki, I feel like you could just get rid of the fucking deep wound. He's in a place where like he'd be better off without it. Cause like, what the fuck does the deep wound do anyway? He already has his enraged mode. He already had he just doesn't. Honestly, I'd prefer like nah. Maybe I wouldn't. I was gonna say maybe I would prefer if they made the his power move be able to down with 2 hits. Like, say you get it on a infected survivor with the Kagane or whatever, like, and you hit them again, then it downs them like a Nemesis. But then I'm like, nah, that fucking hitbox is too big. So maybe not that. But just get rid of the deep wound on Kaneki. I don't think it's fucking necessary. I really don't. Just have it so that he infects and injures the survivor, and then after that point, like, it doesn't do anything anyway. So, like, there's no point in keeping it on the survivor. Just fucking get rid of it. Make Kaneki less annoying to go against. There you go. Win-win for everyone. Just get rid of the deep wound. Don't even give him anything to compensate. He doesn't fucking need it. Just get rid of it. His compensation is not having to deal with MFT. That's his fucking compensation. And then Legion. This one. The biggest offender of this. Because Legion is so weak on his own. Better yet, when he has multiple survivors with MFT. Oh my God. It is awful. At least Kaneki is still strong. And at least with Kaneki, you can choose not to give the survivor deep wound. And if you choose not to do that, Kaneki is still useful. Legion, if you get one survivor with fucking MFT, Legion becomes fucking useless, bro. Legitimately useless. Oh my God. Like, MFT doesn't shut down a killer harder than fucking Legion, bro. It's trash. It's awful. And Legion needs deep wound removed. No one fucking likes it, bro. It's not strong slowdown anymore. The survivors fucking hate it because they constantly have to mend. And then the fucking killer can activate MFT, and then they're an M1 killer with no other power. Literally nothing. No mobility, no anything, bro. And they're going against MFT. And that is awful. And that you can't avoid it as Legion unless you literally just don't use your power. And it's not fair. It is not fair under any circumstances of that healthy design, bro. One perk should not counter a killer that fucking hard. If you say differently, you're fucking wrong, okay? Legion just gets shit on by this perk for no reason. He's already weak regardless, bro. Like, seriously. Get rid of the deep wound on Legion and give him some actual fucking buffs. Fucking, if you get rid of deep wound on Legion, he won't be nearly as annoying, and Hell, maybe you can make it so that after 2 hits you can down a survivor instead of fucking 4, which you never get anyway. Because these maps are fucking huge, bro. So, like, you're not getting these hits anyway, so just fucking make it so that maybe after 2 survivors get hit, then you can down the 3rd survivor instead of 3 survivors and then... no, you have to get all 4 and then you can down a 5th one. Instead of a 5th hit, make it a fucking 3rd hit. There you go. Remove the deep wound and do that. I guarantee you, Legion would be much better off. Like, seriously. Like, it's just not fucking right the way that Legion gets affected by MFT. It's not right. It's not okay. And again, notice this whole video, I have not suggested any changes to MFT, and that is because I don't believe MFT should be changed. What I believe is that Deep Wound needs to not be base kit on another killer ever again. It needs to be removed from all killers who have it, and they need to not add it. It feels so lazy at this point, bro. Behavior, I know you can do something better than just giving killers Deep Wound when you don't want them to injure with their power. I know you can. You could do something creative. Create a new status effect. Anything. Just get rid of the Deep Wound on these characters because it doesn't fucking help. And it actively makes the killers more annoying to go against. Okay? If I get hit off hook, that is much rarer than me having to deal with the killer's power, knowing, oh, I gotta mend every 10 seconds with this killer. Like, that is so annoying. They're, like, really, just please, remove Deep Wound from these killers. Make it so that MFT doesn't just activate on these killers specifically, and then give them something better, so that they can be better. You know, like, fuck, I just do something better, man. Please. Please do something better. Alright, that is my rant for today. I will leave that how it is. I will leave it at that. Behavior, please remove Deep Wound from these killers. Give them something different. Give them something better. Fix Legion, please. Alright, that'll be the end of that. Everyone, have a good day.